Everyone, today is October 3rd, 2020. This is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger, and this week, it finally happened. Konami finally did it. Zexal World has been released. And this happened early in the week, so the hype has died down, but gonna dive into this world. We're not gonna talk about the character cards and skills yet because, you still have time. You pretty much have infinite time to level up those characters, get their cards, play their skills, farm them at the gate if necessary. We'll talk about all those cards in the coming weeks, but there will be like a general impression piece where I just react to the world because, I never really watched the show on TV. I was pretty much in college already, so I didn't have TV or anything, and I didn't really get into the show at all. I would just come back home when I was on like a school break or something, and I'd come back and turn on the TV, and I would be like, "What the hell is this? This is Yu-Gi-Oh!" But I don't really know what's going on in the show, so just share my general impressions on the three characters, the setting itself, and all that. The main thing this week is we're gonna wrap up the nerfs that were announced. So, Forbidden and Limited list that would be active in October 14th, and then the skill rebalancing that is mandatory on the 22nd, but available much sooner. Let's talk about that. So, okay. This week in Duel World, I have bought into all these things. I didn't get King of Games last month, but I didn't really care at that point anymore. I was just waiting for the world to come, and once the world came, I bought into the new box, try and get through some of the stage missions. I think that was the first priority. I got through some of the stage missions so I could get all three characters first. Got that out of the way. There are some missions you had to do with burn damage, for example, things like that. So, I got through all the the stages that were required for the three duelists that we got. So I got to like stage 12 or something. And, just trying to play different decks. It's kind of my goal. I don't really want to see Dark Magician anymore, but I still do. And I'm playing these, I'm trying to play the Xyz decks, play the new characters, because you can't really derank in Platinum anyways, so might as well run them out there and get some duel skills, things like that. I haven't really been winning a ton. I'm probably in Plat 6 by now. I think I moved up a few ranks, but not much going on. Trying to learn the new mechanics of XYZ, play these early XYZ cards we have, and just enjoy it. And, I bought through the box, and the box really, really bled me. The Shining Hope box, they gave me Fiendish Chain on the last pack of the box. I had to buy through the whole thing through... It's rare you buy the whole box through, but they actually made me do it. Let's look at some tournaments. Duel Links Meta Weekly 144. A lot of the old stuff here. None of the new decks really got through. I think this was announced after the nerfs. This tournament was played after the nerfs, so they have the new rules in place already. So let's check it out. First place, Hey Craig, Peak Performance, Black Wings. So this is the full glass version. Glass cannon version of the deck. No Blackbird Close. We'll talk about the nerfs later, but no Blackbird Close. They use Offerings as a Doom kind of as it's an aggro card. It's a backup. I kill your opponent. They draw very well with Black Whirlwind, so they don't really need to draw. So no Blackbird Close, and they did fine. Second place, Sakram, Sealed Tombs, Ritual Beast. So no Lava Golem anymore. The effect damage nerf has already been applied to all the cards. Lava Golem and the new cards. So not much to say here. They have a few ways to lose life points for Sealed Tombs with Herald of the Abyss and Cosmic Cyclone. Top 4, Francisco, Mythic, Depth, Sea Stealth, Cristrons. Again, this deck has a Psychic Wielder as a staple now, so that allows you to make those level 6 synchro plays, which are very good. Coral Dragon and Brionic, and Powered in Zectron, Coral Dragon and Brionic being water monsters that have synergy to Sea Stealth attack. And top 4, Chinos TCG, an expert Witchcrafter player, Power of the Dark Witchcrafter. So this is the nerfed version of Witchcrafters again. And Lightsworns are pretty much gone, except for 2 copies of Raiden. Raiden will help you mill for 4, 2 or 4, and also be a level 4 tuner. There's no Minerva here, notably. Yeah, they have Brionic in the extra deck, which doesn't make any sense, because there's no way to make Brionic here. But anyways, 3 Cosmic Cyclones, that's a thing now with the rebalance. Shuffle Reborn, that card was put into Witchcrafters here. 2 copies of each trap card, Patroness and Masterpiece. Alright. Let's talk about the Amino Cup. First place, Diego, tie that binds Noble Knights. So Noble Knights might become an Xyz archetype. They have some light monsters. They have warrior monsters. They're all level 4. Sounds good for Xyz in my opinion. But this deck is pretty much the same as it always has been. 3 copies of Madroit, 3 Dristan, 2 Boars, 1 Gwen Hyfar, Queen of Noble Arms, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, 3 Glory of the Noble Knights, 2 Arfaduder, 1 Galantin, 2 Noble Arms, and 1 Treacherous Trap Hole. Second place, Comedor de Casadas, Mind Scan Melodics. The Melodics, I've never really seen this archetype too much. So they're playing Mind Scan. 2 of the Boss Monster, Soprano, the Melodis, Songstress, 3 Herald of the Green Light. It's a tutor card, it seems like. No, it's a hand trap. 2 copies of Mozarta. 2 copies of Cannon. 3 copies of Sonata. 2 copies of First Movement Solo. 1 Fortissimo. 3 Super Team Buddy Force Unite. And 2 Void Trap Hole. Top 4, Berserk Armor 1. Check out my ride. Speedroids. Yeah, this is total meme here. So 1 Machina Fortress, 2 Kiteroid, 3 Speedroid Double Yo-Yo, 2 Speedroid Denden Daiko Duke, 2 Speedroid Red Eye Dice. This is the main tuner, it changes levels. 2 Speedroid Horse Stilts, 3 Cosmic, 3 Speed Recovery, 1 High Speed Re-Level, and 3 Floodgates. And top 4, Kali NG. Balance Aliens. Yeah, it's Aliens. 2 copies of Overlord, 2 Telepath, 3 Warriors, that's a shock. 1 Kid, 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Mysterious Triangle, 3 A-Cell Recombination Device, of course. 1 Fiendish Chain, 2 Super Team Buddy Force Unite, and 3 Brainwashing Beams. Super Team Buddy Force Unite might be a pretty good card for XZs. Maybe. Okay, we're not going to talk about the Meta Freakly, because I'm not really sure what that is yet. And the new Banlist update. So this is expected with the new balance changes and nerfs. This is not active in Dual World yet. So you're still going to face these decks all the time in the ranked ladder, because people hate fun. So, this is just, this is going to be the tournament scene meta tier list for quite a bit for the weeks until the nerfs actually go live. So first, tier 1, Karakuri, Soul tier 1 deck for some reason. They got nerfed a bit too, but we'll see if they stand up to this tier 1. I don't buy much into these rankings, because nothing's really live yet. Tier 2, Black Wings, Witchcrafters, and Shiranui. Shiranui have been moved up. Tier 3, we have the promotion of 2 decks from the scrap heap, Crystron and Ritual Beasts. These are kind of like Tier 4 decks that were off the list. They put them back on. I don't disagree with that. They removed Element Sabers and invoked Neos from the list altogether, expecting the nerfs to invoked to be big enough for that. And they moved a deck into the high potential slot with Satellar Knights. They're the main archetype from the new box. Okay, so we're through with that. And let's talk about the Forbidden and Limited list update. This was huge. Huge, a lot of stuff. I think this will shake up the meta quite a bit. Certain archetypes are completely dead. Let's get into it. So, Forbidden and Limited list will be active on October 14th. For the first time, we have two cards that are completely banned on the Forbidden list. Grass Looks Greener. This was a card that was set to 1, limit 1, now it's Forbidden. So we would officially say the grass is ass. And self-mill strategies have been good for quite a bit since this card came. It's a free card, so everyone had access to those cards. And self-mill decks were unique. Like every 30 card deck, you could say someone wanted to make their own twist to it with a different card, and allowed that. Ultimately, it was too strong in this format. A bunch of different decks. Witchcrafters, to name one, that's the one I played the most. Used one copy of that. Grass Looks Greener. The new Shiranui deck that came from the last KC Cup. It was not really a new deck, but Grass Shiranui, when it was first, it was kind of like the first Shiranui deck, and then it went away for a very long time, and it came back for the last KC Cup. So that's another deck. Any Lightsworn strategies, so making use of Solar Recharge or Charge of the Light Brigade. Any Lightsworn, Chaos Dragon, Levianeer, and even the Block Dragon deck. There's a Block Dragon deck with like Parry Knights, Tackle Crusader, a lot of like rock monsters and things like that. They were a grass deck. There were so many different grass decks, and now it's completely banned. So there's some other ways to do it though. It's not the end of the world. Needlebug Nest is a mill card. Monster Gate, you have to sacrifice a monster, but you have a potential for a big mill there. And Dice It. Dice It is a trap card that's free. It's not free, it came from an event, but it lets you mill some cards too as a trap card, so that's pretty good. Well, it's not good, but it's an alternative. So you're going to have to look for different ways to mill. Mill isn't completely dead, but the most efficient way of doing it is dead. And I want to know, I made this card prismatic, so I want to know if I can get my stones back. I don't need the stones, I'm not going to be greedy. Alright, the other card that got banned is Cyberstein. And Cyberstein was a card that got hit at 1. There was a previous tournament where they were doing Taya Life Cost 0 was completely unfair. And this card is, I really wanted this card banned when I kept getting hit by Ojama Kings on turn 1. So they lock out your whole board and whatever. And they also do some other stuff with Life Cost 0 where they play like 4,000 attack monsters on you. So Cyberstein's banned. I'm happy about that. Skillless card. Busted Hands, nothing you could do. So, good. Alright. So, a bunch of cards are now limited 1. Star Blast is now limited 1. So this was a card that was released not too long ago, maybe like 1 or 2 months ago. 2 months ago in August. And it came from the Tag Duel tournament. This was a card that I had high expectations for because it was very powerful. And I thought it would result in a nerf to level augmentation, but it didn't. And it's very good because you modulate levels and lose life points at the same time. So you kind of achieve the goal of reducing a level to match a Synchro or XZ summon, and also trigger a dual skill. So that card's been nerfed to 1. Seems like a preemptive nerf in my opinion. Nothing was really busted that had it right now. I think they're doing it for XZs. And of course, losing life points is a goal of some decks. So they run cards that make them lose X number of life points. Cosmic Cyclone being the most notorious case, and Herald of the Abyss. Now, talking about mill cards, Needlebug Nest has been limited to 1. So this is just a R rarity card, and I actually don't have this card. I never bought Land of the Titans, I guess. But Needlebug Nest, limiting the number of mill strategies that can go on, I guess. This was recently seen in Grass Shiranui, but this could also be used in Witchcrafters. They're going to be free from the limit 1 slot, so you could kind of use this for Witchcrafters moving forward because Grass is gone. So yeah, there's nothing in the limit 1 for Witchcrafters. Bunch of decks. I think a bunch of decks can fit this in with the removal of grass. It's kind of like they switch places. Like grass is banned and Needlebug Nest went to 1, so it's kind of like they're counting as the same card. I wonder how many cards grass milled on average. 5 seems like a decent number, actually. So it seems like it's the same thing. And Revival Gift. Honestly, I didn't even know this card existed. Let's talk about it. Trap card that's normal from Stardust Acceleration. Select 1 tuner monster from your graveyard, special summon it. Its effects are negated. Special summon 2 Gift Fiend tokens to your opponent's side of the field. So this kind of clogs up your opponent's board to prevent like a special summon, I guess. Let's say you're trying to play Lumina, you need two spaces on the board. You're trying to make some kind of XZ summon, you need 2 spaces on the board. So Revival Gift clots up the board. I didn't know this card existed, so not much going to say about that card. All right, let's move on to Limited 2. So a bunch of cards. Limited 2 is probably the most important slot because it's like the biggest nerf. Like they put the most powerful spells and traps in Limited 2, so if a card moves into Limited 2, it's a really big nerf. Gold Sarcophagus went from Limited 3 to Limited 2. So, hard to say here. I've never really played Gold Sarcophagus, so I can't say. But it was used in Shiranui, it was used in Thunder Dragons. Yeah, I think Shiranui just started using this and this hits them. It lines up with Charge of the Light Brigade now, so 2 Limited 2 cards. And Thunder Dragons might be back, so this also hits at them. So, various decks use Gold Sarcophagus. Now, even fewer. It's going to be seen even less. I think it's a structure deck card, selection box card, so if you have 3 of these, it just feels bad, but, it could get moved off the list at any moment. I don't think this is a card that they were specifically targeting, but it could also be, it's a very flexible card that could be used in different decks. Alright, Charge of the Light Brigade. This was Limited 3, now it's Limited 2. This hits a few decks. Witchcrafters, I guess, is the main target, so Witchcrafters and, because they were just Limited 3 and you had 3 of these running in, so, you got to mill a lot of cards, you get to tutor your tuners. This hurts any Lightsworn engine, obviously. You're running a few Lightsworn cards and you're tutoring your card and also dumping cards into the graveyard, so this hurts any of those Chaos decks that use Lightsworn engines. Anything with a Lightsworn engine is hurt. It's at stake. So we don't know. Like, all those cards will... they clash with the Limited 2. That's all I have to say. It hurts them a lot. Solar Recharge still exists though, and you could still run your Lightsworn monsters, but it'll be less consistent overall without this card, and you can't tutor the monster anymore, so you're kind of dumping them off with Solar Recharge and hoping you draw them with the draw 2. Maybe you can get on with Solar Recharge and Lightsworn monsters, but this is a very key card to the Lightsworn engine, and it hurts it. It's only been out since February 29 this year, so that's interesting. It didn't really have a huge leash like some of these other archetypes that have been around for a long time. Now, Karakuri Kamachi Model 224 Nanishi was previously unlimited, now it's Limited 2. So this basically hits at every single Karakuri deck running Hey Trunade. That was their main OTK card. And now they're hitting at the main tuner so that you have to run Nanishi. There's no way you could play Karakuri without Nanishi. She's the only tuner. She lets you do double summon. She works really well with the monsters to make level 7 or 8 synchro plays. So she's very good. So you're not going to run Hey Trunade anymore. I think the deck can still survive with Night Beams and Fire Formation Gyaku. 2 cards that can't be stopped. They hit the back row with ease. They can't be stopped, that's all I have to say. That's kind of what you're looking for with Hey Trunade's replacement. But that's not the only nerf to card courage, so it's fine. Hatred leaving doesn't really affect the deck, I think. And Nanishi, you could still run 2, you don't have to run 3 of her. Like, there's plenty of decks that just run 2 Nanishis. Now, Keeper of Dragon Magic. This one's kind of big. Unlimited to 2. And this was like a pay-to-win card because it's a structure deck card. It's tough to nerf a structure deck card, but it was just too good. Like, Invoke Neos was way too good. One of the strongest cards ever. Normal summon it, discard a card, add polymerization, and then you can reveal the fusion monster and then special summon a card from the graveyard. So you basically just tutor out your Neos onto the board. And then you can flip over Neos with like an AD changer or something. Very strong monster. Getting nerfed here. Now Blackbird Close. This was unlimited. Now it's a limited 2. And there's various Blackwing monsters on limited 2. There's at least 2 monsters. I think it's Orochi the Squall and Raikiri the Rain Shower. So that means Blackbird Close is gone. Like, this card's, it's not going to see play because those 2 cards are pretty important for the deck. So they're like Blackwings are a glass cannon now. We've seen it win a tournament with Offerings to the Doomed. They're going to have to do something creative in that regard to not be a full glass cannon. But Offerings to the Doomed kind of hedges that glass cannon. It's kind of like it can be aggro and it can be defensive at the same time. Now, Witchcrafter Holiday, limited to 2. This was a limit 3 card before, so this card and Charge of the Light Brigade were both limit 3, so you ran 2 charges and 1 holiday. That's typically how it was. Now Witchcrafter Holiday is the sole 2, and I think this is what kills Witchcrafters, I think, because you're eliminating any of the limit 2 cards. So Charge of the Light Brigade's gone, Machine Angel Ritual, and Econ. Machine Angel Ritual worked very well with Storm, so you're going to need some kind of replacement there. The benefit is you get to run 2 holidays now instead of just 1. I think we got along really well with just 1 holiday. This is probably the biggest nerf to Witchcrafters that hits at their viability in general. But I have seen some decks play in tournaments with the new changes, so I'm interested in seeing what they do. But I think this is the biggest hit to Witchcrafters, is putting those 2 cards on the list. Now this is the Invoke nerf. Alistair was unlimited, now it's limited 3. This is pretty big too. It hits at both of the Invoke decks, the main Invoke decks, Neos and Element Saber. So now Cosmic Cyclone is there, as well as the field spell Palace of the Elemental Lords. So this hurts Element Sabers more, I think. You're sharing the field spell and Alistair, so consistency is completely shot. There's nothing else to say. It's completely shot. You're going to run 2 and 1. I don't know which one you run 2. I think you run 2 Alistair and you run 1 field spell. That's really bad for all those Element Saber monsters. And at Neos, they can't use Cosmic Cyclone, so the whole switcheroo thing is gone. So I think they're still a little bit better, but then Keeper of the Dragon Magic is hit too, so you can't run any limited 2 cards. So there's a clash with Cosmic Cyclone. I think you can get away with fewer Cosmic Cyclones with the switcheroo nerf, but this hits the invoked thing pretty good. And 2 cards have been removed from the ban list. Element Saber Malo was a limited 1, now it's unlimited. Doesn't matter anymore because Element Sabers are pretty much dead. Small victory, pretty much dead though. But Thunder Dragon Dark was a previous limited 3, now it's unlimited. So it moves off the list, and you could run Cosmic Cyclone and Charge of the Light Brigade in Thunder Dragons again. Gold Sarcophagus is also limited too, so that hurts. Which one are you going to run? I guess that's the thing. But Thunder Dragon Dark being off the list may help it get back into the meta. Alright, so let's move on to the skill rebalancing, which comes a little bit later. Mandatory October 22nd. Some important ones, some not important. First is restart. Huge change to restart. You basically have to run a balanced deck. It forces you to run 7 spells and 7 traps at least. So it's kind of balance. Some decks might be fine doing this, but I think it makes you say, why don't I run balance instead? So, I think this is a huge nerf, and there may be some deck that comes along that has those requirements, and you like to run restart instead. But right now, we could say restart will be retired. 7 spells and 7 traps. That's really tough, and a lot of different characters and decks did use restart. It's kind of like a generic skill you would run if you had no skill to use. I think Karkuris were the main restart deck in this current meta that we're in. Maybe Dragoonity had some use with it too. Any very aggressive deck probably ran restart, and yeah, it's probably not that good anymore. A lot less good. Switcheroo. So now the life point lost has gone to 1,500 instead of 1,000. So that makes it basically that, Cosmic Cyclone, right? And with 1,500, your natural inclination would be moving on to Herald of the Abyss, which is a very good card in its own right. But Herald of the Abyss is generally going to be harder to activate than Cosmic Cyclone. And the reason is because you need a face-up monster on the board. So it depends if your opponent is willing to play a face-up monster. I know it's non-targeting, so it's pretty good for that. But they have to lead off with a face-up monster. If they're setting a monster, no dice. And it's more likely that they set cards like back row so that the Cosmic Cyclone was more consistent in that hard removal of the back row and triggering 1,000 life point loss. And Herald of the Abyss doesn't do that. It doesn't hit sets, so a lot harder to activate, to rely on Herald of the Abyss to activate Switcheroo. So yeah, this hits Invoked Neos the most right now, but a lot of decks did use Switcheroo. Alright, Bandit. So Bandit, you lose a card basically. You have to return a card to your hand, from your hand to the deck, and then you get to steal your opponent's card. This was a card that wasn't really used a ton, but you're looking at a -1 situation now. You return a card to the deck. I don't know. This skill wasn't used a lot, and it was kind of fun. I'm not sure what was busted about it that caused it to get nerfed. Alright. This is the biggest change that we should celebrate. That's Shadow Game. So Shadow Game got completely shafted here. Like, I got nerfed 3 times. And I'm pretty happy about it. So, first, both players will burn at the end of the turn. So, usually it's only the turn player. So now you lose life points on both sides together. Second, the burn is capped at 400 each time. So when you're playing a mill deck against a Shadow Game deck, you got burned a lot every turn. So you burn at 400 max each turn. And finally, the skill doesn't even apply when you have 1,000 life points or less. Any player with 1,000 life points or less doesn't get burned. So you kind of burn each side until you're at 1,000 or less. This goes along with the general anti-burn movement that I commend Konami for doing. Lava Golem got nerfed. Various Zexal cards that do some burn damage, like Cowboy and Grenosaurus, they got nerfed. So it's like an anti-burn thing going on. This skill's dead. Like, Stromberg, Ritual Beasts, they need to find some other skill. And burn decks can still exist with Chain Reaction. I think you could get along with that. Stall decks can still use Endless Trap Hell, so Odeon can be the stall guy, the annoying guy. But Shadow Game's dead. Because their win condition was literally just burning you with your stuff in the graveyard and Lava Golem. So now it's substantially nerfed. this skill is pretty much dead. I have to go back to Weevil. Like, I don't know what's going on anymore. Alright, access denied. So basically, this can only be used from your 5th turn and onwards. And it was a decent lockdown skill. It wasn't used a ton, because you have to have 1,000 life points or less. So it's not a skill that you saw a ton. But people got completely locked out. They can't play their effect monsters at all, and they're pretty much stuck. So this gives the opponent 2 turns to actually defend themselves before access denied hits. Ojama Overflow also got nerfed with the same thing where it could only be used on the 5th turn and onwards. And this goes along with the Revival Gift nerf, where they're trying to prevent things from clogging the opponent's board. So your opponent has 2 turns to prevent that, I guess. Now, Show of Nightmares. This is another Witchcrafter nerf. You basically lose your card advantage. Show of Nightmares was always a +1 skill, in that you got your free spell back. Now you have to return a card from your hand to the deck. So ideally you would like toss an extra Witchcrafter monster or something like that, and then you get a +1. Now it's a 0. So the deck was mostly spells, so the chances were high that you got something from your graveyard that you wanted. This isn't the huge change that affects Witchcrafters, but it's like one of a few changes that did hit. There were like 3 nerfs to Witchcrafters this time around, so this isn't the one that kills it. Like I said, the limited 2 things were probably things that kill it, but this is another nerf to Witchcrafters. Some skills that weren't really played, they're trying to buff. Moth to a Flame. So the speed turn count for Petite Moth equipped with Cocoon of Evolution goes twice as fast. And if you control Petite Moth with Cocoon of Evolution, you can add some cards like Larva Moth, Great Moth, and Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. And no one's going to play this. This is a complete anime skill, and no one's going to play those cards. Afterlife Lockdown can be used when you control a cubic monster. During this turn, opponent's monster is destroyed by battle, returned to the deck instead of the graveyard. This can be used once per turn and twice per duel. So this could be used twice a duel. Cubics generally have better skills to use than this one. I only see a point. They kind of lock out the graveyard, so you can't resurrect stuff, I guess, but it's not very useful at all. And finally, Red Eyes Fusion. This is a good buff. I like how it's like 2,400 life points or below, but basically you return a Red Eyes to the hand, or 1 Red Eyes from the graveyard to your deck. And you can add Red Eyes Fusion. So the problem with Red Eyes Fusion is that you ran out of materials in the deck, so everything would be in the graveyard and you can't use it again. This lets you return Red Eyes to the deck, so you have an extra cost to use Red Eyes Fusion. So this lets you recycle. It's pretty good. Now, Red Eyes isn't going to be meta, but pretty good buff for Red Eyes. So those are all the nerfs that will be coming to the game, and hopefully it shakes up the meta. I'm tired of seeing the same old cards again, but notably Dark Magician was not hit this time around. I'm just really calling for Dark Magician to go away. So let's see. Zexal World Release. We're not going to talk about the characters, skills, and cards yet. We'll save that for a future episode, but right now, just looking at Zexal World, the Heartland City, as it's called, looking at the 4 different zones we have. If it reminds me of anything, it looks like Candyland. There's a lot of colors, a little futuristic, but a little bit of old style as well. It looks like Europe because there's like a canal. It's a Candyland. There's a lot of hearts. There's some robots that clean, I guess. That's something that happens with the city. And the NPCs, the new NPCs, they're little kids who go to school, I guess. So they're about the same age as these characters. There's four new NPCs. They're all little kids. Um, two girls and two guys, little kids. They wear different ranked gears, which goes along to what happened in Duel Academy, I guess. So Duel Academy, they wore three different colors. They have three different colors here as well. There's two new decks, two new NPC decks. There's a new Sylvan deck called Sylvan's Rise, and also the new Maldoche deck. The Maldoche deck might be a little bit annoying when you're auto-dueling because it's kind of a stall deck, so they take a while to finish. I guess that's the difference. Um, the character. Oh yeah. So the NPCs. I made a big deal about this online, but Josh is around. So Josh just got transported from Dual World to Zexal World for some reason. He wasn't really present in Dimension of Dark Dragon's world yet. Not only Josh and Daniel, I think the two like high school kids in DM World got moved over to Zexal World. So there's no explanation for them. There's a universal NPCs like Ashley's universal, Bella's universal, Mickey, Meg. They're present in every world. Jay's in Zexal World, so they only have like four new NPCs. It's kind of like they ran out of space and they decided to put Josh in. So I don't know how to feel about that. The characters. So we get three characters. Yuma and Astral is the main character. This double character thing, it happens with the main characters. Yugi and Yami, obviously, though they separate them in Duel Links. Yubel and Jaden, that happened. So now we have a similar situation here. Yuma, if I were to describe him in one word, it's slipstream, and that's kind of cool because he always says, feel the flow. That's very slipstreamy. His character looks slipstreamy. Seems like a cocky guy, and that's okay. And I like that Yuma and Astro are just arguing all the time, so that's good banter. Eventually I'll get tired of it, but it's good banter in a way that's not annoying, I guess. Like Loomis and Umber's just like whatever, like two goons going at it. Yuma and Astro are our main characters. They're on the same team, and they're talking to each other, so that's a nice dynamic. Bronx Stone, I'm not too hot on this guy. He's like a football player. He looks like a football player if football existed in Yu-Gi-Oh, which it probably doesn't. He's like the main friend guy, I guess. He's never lost a duel against Yuma, so that's interesting. He's actually good at dueling, unlike the other characters that were friends aren't good at dueling, so there's a dynamic there. And he's like the main friend. Tori Meadows is the lifelong girl character who probably gets involved in some romantic hints with the main character, but the main character never really notices her, maybe. I feel like that's a trope that's used a lot. I think 5D's guy kind of knew, but yeah, she's. I'm just saying, I like the way her hair looks. It kind of looks like a 50s hairstyle, but it's green, so I don't know much about her. Her and Bronx Stone have overlay gain though, so that's something they can get for free at level 13. That gives them an advantage if you want to play overlay gain. Yuma and Astral are playing. Overlay gain is not included; it's a drop skill, so you could play those two characters if you want to play overlay gain. I don't really know what these skills do yet, so not sure what they're used for. Tori Meadows has some fairy stuff going on, and she still has access to Fairy Cheer Girl, which is not available in the box yet. So Yuma has Utopia, that's available in the box, Bronxstone has Tin Archduke. That's not available in the box. So Tori and Bronk have some extra incentive with their skills, and including a card that's not available yet. Oh, those cards are probably available. Actually, I just misspoke. You just level up those cards and you can get those cards. My bad. Fairy Cheer Girl and Tin Archduke are both cards you can get just by leveling up, and you don't need to buy a box. So, alright, so that is it. Let's talk about the free card we get. So, Zubaba General is a prismatic card we get for free. We only get one copy of this card. It's a Warrior Earth, rank 4, 2000, 1000. Requires 2 level 4 monsters to be overlaid. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card. Equip 1 warrior from your monster from your hand to this card. This card gains attack equal to the combined attack of the monsters equipped. So, this is a fine Xyz card for any warrior deck that runs level 4s. I'm thinking 6 Sams. 6 Sams seem like the perfect deck to run this card. This card's going to have like 3,000 plus attack, like 3,700, 3,900. You can equip a 1,900 guy on this. Pretty good. And you only need one of these. Another deck that could use this are Noble Knights, though Noble Knights are a little bit more conservative with their monsters being cheated out of the deck. So, more for 6 Sams, I think. And 6 Sams draws really good, so that's another advantage they have. I've been playing 6 Sams. It's doing okay. There's also a free card trader card, which I have yet to see in the trader's shop. That's Yugioh the Risen. It's a water reptile, rank 4, 2950, 2800. And requires 3 level 4 monsters. That is all it does. So we have a vanilla monster in the extra deck. And this is not something that's completely useless. We have seen something like Scrap Archfiend being played before. This falls short of Blue Eyes by 50 points, 2950. You would like to be at 3,000, but it's at 2950. So there's nothing wrong with being just a vanilla beater, but the fact that you're an Xyz monster and you're not taking advantage of Xyz materials on this card is a big cost. And I think that's the point of being an Xyz monster in general, is that you have to use your Xyz materials to get detached for effects, right? This guy costs 3 monsters, and he doesn't do anything with those cards. Sure, there are generic Xyz like traps and spells that help with, they give you abilities based on your Xyz materials, but if the Xyz monster has no inherent ability with the materials attached on it, it's just a cost of 3 for 2950, and that's too much. Yeah, not much to say. This card probably will see some play. Fill out some extra decks while you still can. There's always room for something like this, but it doesn't do anything with the materials, is my point. And just a little bit more about Zexal World. It's important you get your skill to get your 7th extra deck slot, so you have to do 100 Xyz summons, and you could just do this with auto-dueling, frankly. I did it with auto-dueling. Build a deck that works in making quick Xyz summons, usually with Yuma's skill and the Utopia skill. He wants to make Utopia most of the time. It's 2,500, it's pretty good. So, just by auto-dueling a ton, working on your stage rank ups to get all your characters, you'll get that 7th extra deck slot pretty easily. And there's also this survey about general gameplay. You get 50 gems for it. You know, Konami actually listens to responses, so here you can get 50 gems and have them take into consideration all you say. So definitely do that survey for general gameplay. Alright, Doug Dimmaduel is here. He has a deck that fits with what's going on. You're leveling up your characters for Xyz World. You need some auto-dueling. And auto-dueling in Duel Links sucks. It just does the most crazy decisions. You don't know what really works. But they do know how to play Fire King decks, so Doug Dimmaduel has a Fire King deck for your auto-dueling needs. Help maximize your rewards and level up your characters. Here is Doug's Fire King auto-duel deck.
Hey there, this is Doug Dimmaduel with Doug's Casual Deck of the Week. So this week I wanted to just, at least for those of you who like to purchase some of the structured decks, give you an idea that really auto-duel doesn't get that messed up. I have a pretty high win rate with auto-duel. Sometimes that's kind of the purpose of having a casual deck, is one that when you don't really want to pay attention, say if you're in the middle of your work day, or if you're just kind of cooking or not quite paying attention to duel links entirely, and you hit that auto-duel button, you don't want the AI to just completely jack everything up. There's always going to be that risk with a deck like this, but at the same time, I find that more often than not, the auto-duel does an okay job. Not necessarily the moves that I would do, in the order of the moves that I would do, but because this is a deck that has a nice level of consistency and recyclability with boss monsters, the AI for auto-duels is going to be A-okay. So the deck I'm talking about is the Fire King archetype, all right? I know that there's been a structure deck that came out a little while back that has the Fire King High Avatar Garunix, which is just really the driver behind this deck, and that's really the main purpose, and the AI basically figures that out very quickly to get this card onto the field as soon as possible. But yeah, it's a winged beast where it's got 2700 attack. During the next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon this card from the graveyard. When you do, destroy all other monsters on the field. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Fire King monster from your deck, except Fire King High Avatar Garunix. So really, I find that with auto-duels, it's not really getting destroyed by battle that often. It's usually going to be destroyed by card effect. So you're really trying to utilize and recycle and pop the entire field quickly and safely. So we have 2 copies of this card in the deck, and then we also have, for good measure, 2 copies of Sacred Phoenix of Nepthys, and this is the level, I believe, 8 winged beast with 2400 attack, 1600 defense, a classic, where during your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon this card from the graveyard, and when you do, destroy all spell and trap cards on the field. So this is your back row cleanup. It allows you to make some big plays, especially when you're going up against a PvE deck that has just a lot of back row. Now, I want to run my 3 copies of Fire King Avatar Barong and my 3 copies of Fire King Avatar Yaksha. They're both very, very good and allow for some searchability and for some ability to destroy cards from your hand or field. If you remember what Fire King Avatar Barong does, when it's destroyed by a card effect at the beginning of the next turn, you're able to search out any type of Fire King card. So it allows you to get into your Fire King spell cards, or if you need a Fire King monster in your hand, go for it. Or you could search out your Fire King Island, which is one of the big combo pieces of this deck, and the AI figures that out very quickly, and it actually utilizes this card the way that it typically should. So again, very impressed with that Duel Links AI with this deck. Then I run my 1 copy of Circle of the Fire Kings, where you target 1 fire monster you control and 1 fire monster in your graveyard, destroy the monster you control, and if you do, special summon that other monster from the graveyard. I only need 1 copy of it because I'll typically search it out with Fire King Avatar Barong, so I don't really want to open with 2 or 3 copies of this card in the hand. It really makes it a dead draw. It really is clunky when the other spells in the deck are probably a lot more useful. So having Onslaught of the Fire Kings is probably one of the best cards to open with, and the AI figures that out pretty quickly as well. So when your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon 1 Fire Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast type monster from your deck. Its effects are negated and is destroyed during the end phase. So really you want to use this card to summon your Fire King High Avatar Garunix, because it'll end up destroying itself through the effect at the end of the turn, and then that next turn destroy the entire field of cards, or not of all cards, but of all monsters. And then depending on the situation, it may want to summon Sacred Phoenix of Nepthys and do the same thing the next standby phase that you have to pop all back row. Fire King Island, by now you should know what this card does. This has been around for a while. It allows you to destroy a card from your hand to search out a Fire King monster from your deck. But then also if you control no monsters, you can special summon one Fire Wing Beast type monster from your hand. So that works out nicely with your Garunix, and it works out nicely with your Nephthys. And then just for good measure, 3 copies of Karma Cut, because why not? Anyway, that's it for my casual deck of the week. The dogs are barking in the background, so I'm going to call it quits here. I will see you next time. Take care.
All right, thanks, Doug. Check out Doug's Casual Deck of the Week. Every week on this podcast, check out his Twitter account at Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Talk. So, upcoming news. Early October, Taya reminisces about the future. New skill up for the fight. Early October, Duel Quest again. Mid-October, Turbo Duel Grand Prix. New UR card, Dragon Knight Draco Equisti, and SR card, Archfiend Interceptor. Mid-October, Tour Guide Bingo with a new SR called Antidote Nurse. Mid-October, Clash at Crash Town. New skill from Kalen called Shell of a Ghost. Mid-October, new character, probably Axel Brody. New UR Inferno and SR Volcanic Slicer. Late October, obtain a new LD Shark, or Reginald, whatever you call him. That's nice to have another character from this world. And late October, new Mission Circuit, new SR card, Playmaker. Last week they didn't have the names of some of these cards, and now they have them. There you go. And that is it. So, probably if there's time next week, we'll talk about some of those drop skills, level up skills, cards from these 3 Zexal characters. And yeah, so there's plenty to do in auto-dueling right now. Level up your characters, get all the cards you have from those rank up rewards. Maybe farm some duel skills. It's the perfect time to build up while there's not a ton going on, and there's still the old meta in ranked duels that's not nerfed yet. So, I mean, that's a perfect time to get those catch-up things done in your game. So that is it. Thanks for listening. Check out this podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Just search the Duel Assessment, Duel Links Podcast, whatever. All these notes will be on the duelassessment.wordpress.com, or you find me on Twitter at duel_assessment. Enjoy Zexal World, and I will see you next time.